gāyatrī shakti siddhi-dā-tri namaha. Shri Guru Gāyatrī Shakti Devi Siddhi Dhatri Namaha. Shri Guru Gāyatrī Shakti Devi Siddhi Dhatri Namo Namaha. Jai Hind, folks. Welcome to the last and 9th night of Nava-rātri 2021. The phenomenal power of our own energetic body that we felt over the last 8 nights and tonight will be culminating tomorrow in a special victory, Vishesha Jaya or Vijaya, on the Dashami day, following which, of course, would be an awesome time to fast on the Ekadashi, to break it on the Dvadashi in our march towards the Purnima or our fullness. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Yes, it's a time to celebrate that fullness. We become Akshaya Patras, vessels that never go empty, utensils that are always full of the most delicious amrita, trees which are kalpataru, always fruit bearing and wish bearing, and as kamadhenus, again a wish fulfilling cow. This is exactly what we are as Siddhi Dhatri tonight. In the culmination of our energies journey through the pathway of the Sushumna Nadi, we have reached a stage where we are no longer takers but givers. Dhatri. Dha is to give and Tra is from the same root word of mantra, tantra, yantra, gāyatrī, to protect. Who? Those who think they are different from us, but we know that they are a part of us. All those who are still left operating from the lower chakras, be it Matrupitru or sahasrārā or aṇimā or vishuddhi or anāhatā or Manipura or Svadhisthana or mūlādhārā or anything below that. If they are operating at the level of the aṇimā, they are typically siddhas. That's a very important word for Siddhi Dhatri. And those who are operating from here and therefore thinking of themselves as siddhas, which they are, pay their obeisance to us in our form as Siddhi Dhatri. It's not only the siddhas, but Gandharvas, those who operate from the Vishuddhi chakra, who are great in their vani, in their communication, in their singing and other artistic abilities, the Gandharvas, whoever is operating from the Vishuddhi chakra is actually a Gandharva. And they pay their obeisance to us as Siddhi-dā-tri as well. Not knowing that we have already included them, there's no point in their invoking us or praying to us or worshipping us, but they do it nonetheless at the lower levels of evolution that the Gandharvas are, that the Siddhas are. Siddha Gandharva Yaksha at the anāhatā or the heart chakra, whoever is operating from there is typically a yaksha, and they pay their obeisance and invoke us as Siddhi-dā-tri as well. And those who operate from the Manipura Swadhisthana and mūlādhārā are those of the Rajasic Pravritti, whereas the top three that we mentioned, Siddhas, the Gandharvas and the Yakshas, are operating from a Sattvic nature. The Devas are operating from a Rajasic nature, also called as Sura or Amara, those without a death because they have had a taste of the Amrita flowing from there. So these Devas invoke us as well. That's not it all. Even the Asuras get assurances from us. So Siddhas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Amaras and Asuras, they are all invoking us as Siddhi-dā-tri to shower on them the Siddhis that we are capable of. How did we get the Siddhis, first of all, to be able to give? I told you already, it's an infinite pot or akshaya patra of Siddhis that we have. How much ever we give, we have infinite left. But how did we get it? It was through our journey from mūlādhārā, swadhisthana, etc., as śailaputri, brahmacharini, etc. And at each level we collected some Siddhis. And so we have passed 8 levels, the 8th being the Matru-Pitru that we looked at last night, and we have come to the 9th level. So we have 8 types of Siddhis with us, very popularly called as ašta siddhi, apart from Nava-nidhi or 9 treasures. Let's talk about the treasures in another series. Right now we are focused on Siddhi-dā-tri, our ability to give Siddhis to others. And therefore we have to look at typical types of these Siddhis. These 8 Siddhis that we obtained at these 8 levels that we have climbed up, the so-called figurative spiritual ladder, as the kundalini Shakti taking on various forms and protected on all 10 sides, the 8 cardinal directions, that is Indra, Agni, Yama, Nirutti, Varuna, Vayu, Kubera, Ishanya, ašta Dikpalakas and their Mahavidyas. And also on the top and the bottom, top being protected by Tara Devi and the bottom by Bhairavi Devi, in the front by Kali Devi, etc. Bhaglamukhi, Chinnamasta, you would have heard of these names, Shodashi, Kamalatmika. All these are guarding us in all directions. And we are climbing the Sushumna Nadi, which is like a Shivalinga, peaking over here at the sahasrārā as śivā, that which is not. And that's the first Siddhi that we are talking about as aṇimā. Aṇimā means smaller than the smallest atom or even subatomic particles like the Higgs boson or the God's particle as it is popularly called. The ability to become smaller than the smallest is a way of saying becoming nothing or nothingness, which is śivā. So our ability to become śivā, we've already experienced when we were at the sahasrārā as kālarātri. Now we are at a stage where we can give that siddhi of aṇimā to others who are capable of coming up here. So in other words, when we were here operating as kālarātri, it was some others who had gone already to the Guru Gāyatrī Chakra of Siddhi Dhatri and become Siddhi Dhatri. They were the ones who are blessing and gracing us. Remember, I told you only up to here we can go through self-effort. The rest was through pure grace and blessings. Not that those who are here do not receive grace and blessings, but there is a balance between what they are achieving through their self-effort and what they are achieving through their grace or the Guru's grace. Because those who have become Siddhi Dhatri are essentially Gurus in the form of Mother Gāyatrī, Mother Siddhi Dhatri. And they can give us aṇimā and make us śivā. So in other words, whatever siddhis Shiva has as a god, if you can think of him, all of that is bestowed by us as Mother Siddhi Dhatri, as the Guru, as the gāyatrī principle. Similarly, the opposite of aṇimā, that is smaller than the smallest, is larger than the largest. Remember who we were when we were in the anāhatā chakra? We were kūšmāndā, who could contain the entire universe in the womb as Brahmanda. Kūšmāndā is also a pumpkin, and that pumpkin is very symbolic of the energy it packs within itself. But more than the energy, it's the content. And that content of infinity is also viśnū, our own everythingness. And anāhatā is the seat of that as well. And of Hanuman and Bhima and Vayu, the air principle amongst the Pancha-Mahabhutas. All of these have an expansive nature. Air, if it is in a balloon, it is just occupying that much space. But once you release it, it goes all over. And that is the expansion to an infinite size that mahimā is all about. Opposite of aṇimā. If you are able to become as small as the God particle or smaller than that, which is a subatomic particle, smaller than a proton, electron or a neutron, that more younger science students are familiar with, you should also be able to become bigger than the biggest, which is the universe or multiverse. And that is mahimā. Aṇimā, mahimā. So in other words, whatever powers viśnū has, he has got it from us as Guru, Gayatrī, Siddhi Dhatri. In our form, when we are at the highest level of achievement, we are able to give those siddhis to śivā, to viśnū. That is to kālarātri and to kūšmāndā. And similarly, just like we can become smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest, we can pack infinite energy into a small space and therefore make something heavier than the heaviest, or garimā as we call it. And that is essentially at the mūlādhārā chakra, as gaNéśā, as śailaputri, as siddhi, as buddhi, as santoshi mata. You know, gaNéśā is with a hefty body, essentially representing heavier than the heaviest. And that is amongst the Panchabhutas, it's the grossest, the earth. And amongst the Navadurgas that we saw, it's śailaputri, born out of the mountain, massive mountain, like the Himalayan range. So it's heavier than the heaviest. And that is another Shakti we get, garimā. The next is laghimā. That is becoming lighter than the lightest. Or in other words, spreading out the energy as much as we want. So I'm not going to, in lieu of time, I'm not going to go into all of the 8 siddhis. I'll just tell you what they are. And I gave you examples where I told you already which chakra it is associated with it and which Navadurga it is associated with. Right? Similarly, I want you to discover, not guess, but through your meditation, because this whole series that I'm producing for you is with the sole goal that at least one amongst you viewers will be able to go through this whole process experientially, not necessarily only during Navarātri every year. Don't wait for that. You can do it every day. All these 9 meditations on each of these chakras, transforming yourself into each of these devis. But if it happens, if you know the tithis on that particular day, you can focus more on that particular chakra which is involved with it. You might ask, after Navami, what to do? Dashami, Ekadashi, Dvadashi, Trayodashi, Chaturdashi, and either Purnima or Amavasya. Well, you can remain there as Siddhi Dhatri, the ultimate state. Where do you want to go anywhere down? But if you have some preference like I do for being kālarātri at the sahasrārā, you might as well do that. But on these 9 nights, it's good to explore that. Okay? So, I've already told you about aṇimā, told you about mahimā, told you about garimā, I've told you about laghimā, but I didn't tell you which chakra it is. Find out experientially. Through your deep meditations, discover that. Because this is very, very important. So whatever I'm sharing, I don't know if it is there anywhere else in the literature or the scripture. People give scriptural references. That's bookish knowledge. One has to get all of this through experiential awakening realization as Jivan Muktas, as those who are liberated while being alive. Then this makes any sense or gives any meaning and makes a difference to others as Siddhi Dhatri, giving them the siddhis. Because we ourselves didn't get sidetracked by these siddhis as we went up. And that's precisely why I didn't even mention any of these siddhis at any of these chakras, because I know some of you want to do these things and will get stopped there. I just wanted to give you the flavor of the highest, so that then at least you will have a motivation and inspiration to go further up, complete the journey, rather than get stuck up in your pit stops. Like some of the F1 or racing cars, they get stuck up in the pit stops, they don't go further and complete the race. It's like the hare and tortoise story, where the hare just slept on the tree thinking it's too far away from the tortoise. No comparisons with others, comparison only with yourself. And today, if you are in a particular chakra, make sure that the next moment you try and reach the chakra after that, and keep on going like that. Now Siddhi Dhatri, the wonderful symbolism, I told you, has 8 siddhis, of which we talked about only 4. The other 4 are Ishatva, Vashatva, Prāpti, and Prabhyukti. Ishatva is lordship over everything. Again, experientially find out which chakra it is associated with. Vashatva is the ability to get everything else in your control. Vashapaduthirudhu we call even in Tamil for that matter. So that is the next. Then Prāpti, the ability to get whatever you desire. I know this word desire is a hint for you. You already know which chakra it is associated with because we talked about it earlier. Anyway, let's see if you can find out experientially rather than from what you heard from me. Then, what else is left? Prabhyukta. That is to manifest whatever we want by ourselves, out of the blue, alchemy. Magically manifesting whatever we want. So you see, what we talked about as the previous siddhi that I talked about was a desire, and you're trying to get that desire from external sources. Here internally you're trying to manufacture that. That is prabhyukta. And again, the word manufacture, fabricate, create, you would have guessed probably which chakra I'm talking about, but let's see. Respond to my video in the comments in the YouTube or through WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever you're seeing this. So let's see if you can identify experientially. Again, I'm telling you, through your meditative experiences, can you identify where each of these siddhis is obtained? Of course, once it's obtained in a particular chakra, when you go to the higher chakra, you already have those siddhis. Whether you use it or not is up to you. Most people who are truly spiritual, who are sincere sadhaks, seekers, will not display or show off these siddhis. They will keep marching on and on. They know far, far superior things are in store for them, and their capabilities are much more. The word siddhi itself can be translated as capability, skill, attainment, perfection, whatever. But these siddhis at the lower chakras, if you get too identified with it, then perfection is not possible, because the real perfection is here at the 9 chakras, the Guru as the gāyatrī, Tattva as siddhi-dā-tri in our energetic bodies. And now let's also, so these are 8 siddhis, that's an exercise for you. Let me stop with that. Now, the form of Siddhi Dhatri. For the first time, she is no longer holding the Abhaya and Varada Mudras. The Abhaya Varada Mudra was essential at the lower chakras when you wanted to bless people. But now you have reached a stage when you can directly give the siddhis to them, whatever they want. So there is no more oral blessing or a symbolic blessing like this, or trying to get rid of their fear through figurative symbolism. You actually can do it. And therefore, she no longer holds these 2. But she still has 4 hands. So what to do with these 4 hands? Well, at this stage, that is at the Matru-Pitru chakra, yesterday night, we saw Mahagauri, what she had done. Actually, I should not say she, I should say we. What had we done as Mahagauri? We showed our natural instinct as a wife, right? And we pocketed our husband's car, his weapon, and his musical instrument while he was in his meditation. He never needed his weapon. He used his weapon, the Trishul, hardly. When did he use it? Some of you remember. Just about 4 times. And one of it was to chop off his own son's head, gaNéśā's head, and give him a new head. Of course, that head was of ignorance and arrogance, and therefore he got the most intellectual of heads, and because of which he could get his siddhis and buddhis and give rise to santosha, contentment. So he rarely uses it as a weapon. He uses it as a prop for his dance, the Trishul dance, my man. So I, or you, or we just stole his assets. But as a woman, are we satisfied with just our husband's assets? No, we want our brother's assets also. So, Shankha Chakra Gada Kamala from Vishnu is also transferred to Siddhi Dhatri, and Siddhi Dhatri in her 4 hands, these are the 4 things she holds, her brother's assets. Shankha, the conch, Panchajanya as we call it, born out of the 5, which is the 5 elements. That Panchajanya, Vishnu, he is sleeping, Yoga Nidra. Why does he need a conch? She has grabbed it and gone up there. That is I, you and we as Siddhi Dhatri, as the energetic body. Next, his chakra, Sudarshana chakra, right? Panchajanya Shankha, the Shankha is essentially a wind instrument, right? And where is it getting the wind from? Our breath, the air element. And that's why the Shankha is at the anāhatā, Viśnū Shankha. And similarly the Gada. If you look at the Gada, actually the Shankha is more of the Panchajanya. So it's, you can think of it more as at the end of the 5 elements, including space. So here at the Vishuddhi chakra, you can think of Shankha, where the sound is essentially coming from, more than from the anāhatā chakra. And the chakra, if you see, Sudarshana chakra, it's essentially the right vision. Su means the right, and means appropriate, actual, real vision, not the external hallucinatory vision, but the inner vision of the third eye, Sudarshana chakra. And that's also gone up there. We have picked it up. We need it much more, right? Anyway, we can give the siddhis to the others. So we have taken it up. Then, what is the other thing she has, or I, or we, or you have looted from our brother? Gada is there, which is Kaumedaka. The name of the Gada is Kaumedaka. The Gada, if you look at how it is, Hanuman holds it, Bhima holds it, and Vishnu holds it in his hand as well. So if you look at the Gada, as a weapon, of course, it's used to hit your head and therefore blank your mind. Because the mind is a distraction, right? You want to get rid of that, so you blank your mind. But if you look at the shape of the Gada, it's not very different from a churning stick that you used. These days, of course, you don't use it, but in olden days, they used to use the mixies, and grinders do it these days. But those days, they used to do this. So you would have seen in Krishna stories how the gopis and Yashoda do it. So the churning is actually to get eventually the butter out of the milk, right? So milk curdles, curd, and then you churn the curd to get out the butter, and then you heat it up to get the ghee, right? The clarified butter. So that's to get to the very essence of who we are, to become the Atma in a realized way. We are always the Atma, but we have been thinking we are body, mind, intellect. We are these 3. To get a realization that this is what we are, we use that churning stick, and the Gada looks very much like that. So Kaumedaka also refers to blanking the mind, or Kumuda, the blue lotus as such, and many other connotations. But essentially, it's blanking the mind. It's to make the mind to go to 0. So that she has flicked. I, you, and we have flicked. Next, what we have flicked? Sudarshan chakra, yes, and the Kamala, the lotus. And usually she used to hold 2 lotuses, right? At some levels. Here she is holding 1 lotus with a hand. The other 3 she has, of course, the Panchajanya Shankha, the Kaumedaka Gada, and the Sudarshana chakra. So now all the 4 hands are occupied. So the second lotus, where to go? At the base. So she sits on that lotus. Namastestu Mahamaye Shripite Surapujite Shankachakra Gadahaste Mahalakshmi Namostute. Yes, that Lakshmi is a form of Siddhi Dhatri. And that's why you see Shankachakra Gadahaste over there. And Shripite, she's sitting on the prosperity which is represented by the lotus, which can convert filth to fragrance, to treasures. It's amazing. But if you actually look at it, this Siddhi Dhatri, as a joke, I am telling you, she or he, we flicked our husband's things, or brother's things, husband's things yesterday as Mahagauri, and the things of our brother today as Siddhi Dhatri. But this is during an inhalation, my dear friends, when you're raising your energy levels. As you inhale, the air is flowing down, but your prana is flowing up. And as you energize your body, you're moving from one chakra to the other upstairs. And then you're flicking all these things. But then, when the time for exhalation comes, it is Siddhi Dhatri who originally gives all the Siddhis to Śivā and makes Śivā who he is. It is Siddhi Dhatri who gives all the things to Viśnū and makes him who he is. Now the question is, which came first? Inhalation or exhalation? Essentially, it's an exchange taking place. Depending on where you are operating from, which spiritual level of evolution, if you are at this lower level, then Lakshmi and Viśnū and their coterie, like you have Hanuman, Garuda, Narada, Saptarishis, etc. They are all the ones who you think of as the highest. But then, as you go up, you recognize what is even more significant. And as you come down, again, you recognize significance of each of these. The bed is the most significant thing for those who are sleeping. Food is the most significant thing for those who are hungry. Knowledge of wisdom is the most significant thing for the seeker. Like that, things keep changing as we go through various activities, etc. So there's no hierarchy over here. So never ever mistake, just take out one sentence or a few sentences or episodes from my series and say, oh, he's saying that this God is superior than that God. So maybe he's propagating this type of ism like Vaishnavism or Shaivism or Shaktism or Ganapatyam or Kaumaryam. No, friends, I don't take any such sides because I have experienced them all and I know each of them is so beautifully significant at different times. It's not like summer is better than winter or winter is better than spring or autumn is better than spring. No, nothing like that. Each of them has their own place. Every day of the week has its place. Every tithi has its place. Every nakshatra has its place. Every season has its place. So please don't bring a hierarchy and conflicts between followers of this and followers of that. They keep fighting. Rajnikant and Kamal Hassan might be friends, but their followers fight with each other. This is the stupidity. Same with Viśnū and Śivā. Vaishnavism and Shaivism. No. These are all different facets to explore at different levels. I might be joking that Siddhi Dhatri has stolen these things from Viśnū and Śivā, but I am also telling you that during the exhalation, it is they who are getting it from her, or she is not stealing from them. So the question of which came first, the egg or the chicken or the seed or the tree, it's like that, right? So whether death comes first, which is an exhalation, or birth comes first, which is an inhalation. Well, for this life, inhalation comes first, and therefore there's a flicking. But death and beyond, which is a much longer duration, mind you, Life is just a fleeting moment. But death and beyond, before we take another birth or become one with existence, in mukti, moksha, nirvana, that is a much, much longer period, and that's an exhalation. So again, I'm not hinting at which is bigger than which. It's all different phases of who we are. It's like this. I'm a professor. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. Am I a better son than I'm a professor, or I'm a better professor than I'm a husband, or a better father than all of these? Well, such comparisons don't happen because it's not possible. It's like comparing apples and oranges. These are all different roles that we fulfill, and none of them can be better or superior to the other. And Rama is the best example of that. He was an ideal everything, right? So let's recognize and honor this wonderful spirit of the Navarātri, where we have experienced all of these things. We have seen what are the Siddhas, what are the Gandharvas, what are the Yakshas, what are the Devas, what are the Asuras. They are all nobody else. It's us and us alone, fulfilling various roles. When we are lethargic, we are Asuras. When we are active, passionate, aggressive, we are Devas. And when we are doing various pure activities, we are one of the three, that is Siddhas, Gandharvas or Yakshas, or the various gods that we refer to. And of course, in Trigunatita state, we are the real us, that is Prana, Atma, which is Brahman. And we recognize our unboundedness, our unlimitedness, and therefore the ability to give and give, the joy of giving, especially knowledge and wisdom, but anything and everything else. Whatever you have, you share with people who think they are different from us, with animals who think that they are different from us, with plants and trees who think that they are different from us. And today, Ayuda Puja, things which think that they are different from us. Things, GS, who think, K, that they are different from us. No. The very concept of Ayuda Puja is to recognize the life even in the so-called non-living things, leave alone living beings. There's, of course, the higher level of consciousness in living beings, and as you graduate from the lower levels and you evolve, their consciousness develops more and more. The more conscious anything is, the lesser the harm you should do to it. If at all you want to do harm to anything, you do it to the lowest life forms like amoeba or virus or bacteria. Don't go do harm to anything else above that. So this is essentially the beauty of Nava-rātri. I would love to do another video on Vijayadashmi, but I'm doing my mother's video, as you all know, on her channel, and so I'll be occupied with that. Then there is a comprehensive exam of a PhD student that I'll be busy with, and of course the Vijayadashmi pujas and meditation and all that that I'll be performing out of my own joy and bliss. So with this, since I'll not be seeing you directly tomorrow, maybe indirectly through my mother's video, where she'll be singing two wonderful songs. It's a different channel, if some of you don't know, who are only on katham.in, but not on my mother's channel. It is Srimati Vasanta Kumari Sampath, Srimati being spelled as SMT dot. And I have a link from katham.in to her channel as well, so you can explore that. She'll be singing two Devi songs. Last Friday, when Nava-rātri had already started, she sang one song related to Parvati, that is our principal over here at the Agnya Chakra. And tomorrow she'll be singing two songs on Saraswati and Lakshmi to take care of the Vishuddhi and the anāhatā chakras as well. Beautiful Tamil songs. So even if you don't understand the language, please do check out, because I'll always be giving Advaitic interpretations, yogic interpretations, tantric interpretations, and it's a sadhana by itself. It's just amazing. So, wish you all the best, and my blessings and grace to all of you. As Siddhi Dhatri, I'm saying this not as Ganeśā, your child, your friend. I'm blessing you right from up here in my consciousness as Siddhi Dhatri. May you remain blessed forever and relish and enjoy being each of these Shaktis that we have explored. So of course, for each chakra there are female deities called Yakini, Dakini, Lakini, etc. We'll go through that probably because I mean, how much ever you talk about the chakras, there's never an end to it. And this is alone talking alone. But the real thing, of course, the proof of the pudding is in eating it and experiencing this kundalini movement is just amazing. And each stop, let it be brief, but enjoy the stop too. Don't only be interested in the travel. As I've told you, the travel is far more important, the yatra. But enjoy the sights also, but don't get lost in them. That is the only point. And those sights are what we are calling as siddhis, and that ability to give those siddhis is what we have tonight as Siddhi Dhatri. Shri Guru Gāyatrī Shakti Siddhi-dā-tri Namaha. Shri Guru Gāyatrī Shakti Devi Siddhi-dā-tri Namaha. Shri Guru Gāyatrī Shakti Devi Siddhi-dā-tri Namo Namaha.